everyone. It is Wednesday, April 8th, 2026. I'm now calling this regular meeting of the Wetaskiwin Regional Public School Board to order at 11:13. We'll begin with our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we're on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional meeting ground, gathering place, and traveling route to the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, Nakota, Sioux, and Anishinaabe. We acknowledge all the many Indigenous nations, Métis and Inuit, whose footsteps have marked these lands for time immemorial. We respect the treaties that were made on these territories. We acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past, and we dedicate ourselves to move forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. We will begin with consideration of the agenda. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion that the agenda for the April 8th, 2026 regular board meeting be approved as presented? Thank you, Trustee Wright. Seconder. Thank you, Trustee Johnson. All in favor? Motion is carried. Next up is approval of the minutes from the March 18th, 2026 regular board meeting. Are there any errors, omissions, or corrections to minutes? Seeing none, may I have a motion that the minutes of the March 18th, 2026 regular board meeting be approved as presented? Thank you, Trustee Morton. Seconder. Thank you, Trustee Lethbridge. All in favor? Motion is carried. All right, next up would be committee reports. I'll call on Trustee Johnson to present the governance committee report from March 18th.
Okay, we met on the afternoon of Wednesday, March 18th. We again reviewed policy 7 in terms of trustee compensation and board operations, and some edits were made through discussions about our honorariums and how we do our expense claims and what we can expense and what we can't, and what we can charge for and what we can't. And there were some corrections made within. We talked a lot about the difference. We talked about windshield time, and in our policy, we talk about time in transit. So that time in transit will be the phrase that is used to talk about traveling to and from meetings. And I move that the board approved the draft policy 7 board operations as we amended it.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Johnson. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Trustee Morton. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, the motion on the floor is that the board approve the draft policy 7 board operations as amended. All in favor? Motion is carried.
We then went through the draft policy or administrative procedure 132 inclement weather, and this procedure will be shared with school councils and schools for feedback before it is approved. And I move that the minutes of the governance committee meeting held on March 18th be accepted as presented.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Trustee Martin. All in favor? Motion's carried. Right, moving on to board representative reports. I believe Trustee Morton has a report on ASPA Zone 4.
There was discussion over policy 7, and just a reminder that we are stewards of public funds, while we still have to remain competitive enough to attract and retain high-quality leadership. And then it was a lot of points for advocacy, really emphasizing the rural versus urban because we have different needs. Transportation seemed to be number one. The concerns over fees, because most divisions are charging fees coming in the new year. And is this the way that we're staying? Or do we want to move back to not paying and ensuring that everyone understands how different the rule is? Mental health is always a huge part, and how it needs to be strengthened, especially in our outlying schools. Learning that CASA is not division specific is awesome. And then the complexity funding, of course, which funding is always welcome, but maybe some flexibility with that funding, especially for kids that need to move schools. And then a final discussion point was school safety and how the province doesn't seem to have a standard of best practice, and that more consistency needs to be had between divisions, and making sure in areas with no police that we do have other community members set up. And then finally, the Edwin Parr, we have 7 nominees, and 2 Friends of Education, and it's May 25th in Innisfail at the golf course. So that's all.
Thank you very much. Moving on, I have my board chair report. Today I want to briefly touch on a few items. Firstly, just a brief comment a brief comment on Bill 25. Something that as school division we're watching closely. At this point, we're kind of waiting to see if it passes, and if it does, it could greatly change the way our school division, well, all school divisions, I guess, do business. Once there's more certainty, we would need to review the final legislation and kind of compare it to our existing policies and possibly change our policies accordingly. Secondly, I wanted to just briefly touch on that the funding manual has come out. Now that's pretty high level for us as trustees. It's pretty technical. So it's great that we have proficient staff that can look at that for us and give us updates and adjust our budget accordingly. Some points of interest. Well, I guess last year I just had confirmation that last year we moved from a 3-year weighted average to a 2-year enrollment average. In the funding manual, also the province has emphasized earlier notification of projected operational funding by the end of April. From our perspective, the key point is that these changes can affect predictability and timing for planning, especially when we're balancing rural realities, transportation costs, and growing complexity in classrooms. We will continue working through the details as they apply to us, and we'll keep advocating for funding that's stable, transparent, and workable. Thirdly, on the advocacy front, we will be meeting with Mayor Joe and Councillor White in an upcoming meeting to discuss items of mutual interest between the municipality and our school division. These kind of relationships matter, and it's helpful to keep communication strong so we can solve local issues collaboratively. And finally, the ASBA Spring General Meeting will be held May 31st to June 2nd in Calgary. Registration is now open. ASBA has released its initial budget bulletin for board review, including a proposed 2026 to 2027 budget and other business session materials. Since the meeting is in person only, voting delegates must attend in person. When a board's voting delegate is someone other than the chair, that designation must be submitted to ASBA by April 30th. And the meeting will be an important opportunity for member boards to consider budget and governance matters at the provincial level. And that concludes my report. We'll now move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Chair Dorchester. A couple of good news items. First and foremost, hopefully everyone had a great, relaxing spring break and came back rejuvenated and so forth. So that's great there. Another good news item, just a big thank you to our student voice. We recently, just prior to spring break, with the support of the board, looking to engage our students in a survey, and the fact that we had over 2,000 respondents from our students K to 12, over 500 at the K to 3 level, 800 at the 4 to 8 level, and 600 at the grade 9 to 12, actually speaks to the confidence that our students actually feel that their voice is listened to. So we'll be breaking down that survey and sharing it with principals, and we'll also be using some of that survey information when we engage in our student parent forum at the end of April. And you'll also be using that information to help you engage in priorities and belief statements and so forth as we set forward on our new strategic plan. So just a great news item, and a big thank you to you as a board for supporting this, but also to our students for engaging, and to our staff for facilitating that opportunity too. So I think it's great there. I have a few items for information. The first item is our Fine Arts newsletter has gone out to our staff, and so you're there to have a look at it. We also have our Indigenous Education April newsletter, which is a fantastic document that helps build the capacity of our staff and use some of that information to build the capacity of our students in our Truth and Reconciliation journey. I also have I had another item for information, and it's a bit of a good news item as well. But the division is pleased to announce the appointment of John Myers to the principal of Wetaskiwin Composite High School, effective September 1st, 2026. John brings over 2 decades of educational experience and a strong record of leadership within WRPS. He currently serves as the principal of Pigeon Lake Regional School and has previously held principalships of Wetaskiwin Outreach, Buck Mountain Central, along with a vice principal role at WCHS and Norwood School. John is widely recognized for his commitment to building positive relationships, fostering inclusive learning environments, and advancing collaborative student-centered practices. His leadership is grounded in developing strong school culture, supporting staff growth, and improving student learning through effective instructional leadership and collaborative response. With prior experience at WCHS and a deep connection to the school community, John is well positioned to lead the continued success and growth of Wetaskiwin Composite High School. One other information is for board chair's ministerial engagement on May 4th. I think, Chair Dorchester, this will be an opportunity where I believe Bill 25 might be discussed, but I think it's an opportunity for boards to continue their advocacy with government and get some alignment amongst other school boards. I have a few items for action. First item for action is AP 491, volunteer coach supervision for extracurricular activities. The recommended motion is that AP 419, volunteer coaches, supervisors for extracurricular, be referred to the governance committee for further discussion. Chair Dorchester, what this AP is going to do is ensure that communication between volunteer coaches or volunteer extracurricular coordinators are working with our parents to ensure that our parents and our students are aware, but ensuring that the conversation is going directly to our parents. So I'm looking for that motion.
And I would be prepared to make that motion.
Okay, excellent. Do I have a seconder? Okay, thank you, Trustee Lethbridge. Any discussion? Yes.
The way social media operates, I think this is really good to have a very clear line in the sand about how communication happens between particularly volunteer coaches and our students. I think it's very important that parents be aware of what their students are being contacted for and who they are in contact with. So I think it's very good to have this procedure in place. So.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, the motion on the floor is that the AP 491 volunteer coaches and supervisors for extracurricular activities be referred to the governance committee for further discussion. All in favor? Okay, motion is carried.
Thank you. I have another item for action, Chair Dorchester, and it's regarding a request sent out by government and the October 19th, 2026 referendum. There is a discussion and request that October 19th be not considered an instructional day so that government can use our school buildings to access for the purpose of voting. And so the motion that I'm looking for is that the October 19th, 2026 referendum be referred to the Governance Committee for further discussion, as this does have impact on our school calendar.
Anybody prepared to make the motion? Thank you, trustee Reich. Seconder? Thank you, trustee Johnson. Any discussion? Yes.
I'm just, do we need to refer this or do we need to just tell them no? I'm curious.
I just think it would be an opportunity for us to discuss it as a board of trustees, but also get feedback from our schools and some of our stakeholders, because whether or not it's something, we want to make sure that we're in support of voice, community voice and so forth. But at the same time, I think it's better to have a conversation, as this email was sent to us during the break.
Yeah.
And, but I'm also curious, by it going to the governance committee, it allows us to engage our school leadership in discussions and bring back feedback to you as a board.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, the motion on the floor is that the October 19th, 2026 referendum be referred to the Governance Committee for further discussion. All in favor? Okay, motion is carried.
One last item for action, it's regarding Chair Dorchester's Bill 25, which you've alluded to in your report. I am looking for the correspondence regarding Bill 25 be referred to governance, and it speaks to the act to remove politics and ideologies from the classroom, and an amendment to the Education Act. There's a lot of little nuances and items that you've identified in your board chair report that I think further discussion is involved in here. By getting it to the governance committee, I think it allows us to, for you as a board, to really understand the length and the width and depths of what this bill, if in fact it got passed, means for you as board governors. But it also allowed, once again, for us to have conversations with our teachers association and others involved that this bill, if passed, has an impact on.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody prepared to make the motion? Trustee Johnson, yes.
Yes.
Seconder, trustee Martin. Any discussion? Trustee Johnson.
Yeah, I think, having some experience with amendments or new bills, I sometimes, the implications of what will happen should this come to pass are not really thought through completely, and we need to understand what they're asking of us as governors to approve in terms of what they want to put into legislation. Because the implications of, or the ripple effect of some of the things they're asking us to approve is significant to school boards. So I really think that we should have a chance to talk about the ripple effect.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
If there's no other discussion, and just and to a trustees Johnson point, and I know you as trustees are aware of this potential bill to be passed, but it does have some significant implications to your policies, right? And so when one level of governance is passing legislation that impacts your level of governance, it does create a situation for many school boards where you will have to adjust your policies and or create policies if there's gaps.
Any other discussion?
Feels like they're cutting out a lot of important things that we value as trustees in our division, and I hope that there's good discussion before they decide to pass this.
Thank you.
I feel that more prepared we are for those upcoming changes to find out every little nuance of the bill, where it impacts decisions that we're gonna need to make moving forward is very important. So it's best to do our due diligence to the best of our ability to dissect the bill, look at all the impacts, where things may be trying to be snuck in impact voice or decisions that our students have in our schools too.
Thank you.
Is there gonna be time for us to discuss with them our concerns about this bill before they pass it, or are they just gonna slam it through?
Go ahead.
I think, for example, the board chair's engagement with the ministry might be an opportunity, but I also think that you as board members, you have rural caucus, you have zone 4, and you also have the upcoming ASBA and PSBA conversations. And for us, it involves you folks traveling a bit to Calgary. But I think to answer your question, Trustee Lethbridge, there is going to be opportunity to create position statements if need be, especially when it comes to governor decisions around buildings and so forth, and actually the teaching and learning that happens in the classroom. And you've been early adopters to include parents as partners in education, as identified in the Education Act. You've been early adopters with regards to the discussion around literacy, literary collections that are age appropriate and so forth. But to answer your question, I think there is going to be some opportunities. But as I do know you as a board, with your roles that you have in other of your working committees, you can definitely put them on working agendas for your Zone 4, for your Rural Caucus, for your PSBA and ASBA representation. So, and I think that's what's important. If we do get it to governance, you can come out and it'll be reported back in the public forum after the next governance meeting, but maybe have some position statements that you want to put forward to your other working groups with other school boards to have discussions about.
Trustee Johnson, can I call on the others and then you close with
Yep.
your comment? Trustee Atkins.
I was just wondering if we have anybody set to go to the public school board committee meeting on the 9th and 10th of this month, like coming up this
Today.
week.
It's
Okay.
tomorrow and Friday.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm going.
you're going to that?
Yeah,
Should
Lynn's
we-
not going on the alternate.
Lynn's not going.
No.
Should we have a little discussion after with Barb?
For sure. I do know, though, in consultation with the executive director of PSBA, Bill 25 is going to be a discussion
There.
there.
Yeah.
Okay. And I could honestly see that if there's not time, that an emergent position statement in ASBA or whatever on Bill 25 I would bet that there will be one that we will have to vote on. Trustee Johnson.
That's what I was gonna say, Kyle, is that's exactly what the discussion needs to be about. How can Zone 4 present an emergent motion at the spring general meeting? And maybe other zones will be of the same mind, so there may well be 2 or 3 positions put forward at the spring general meeting. I'm sure there will be discussion at the spring general meeting about how to approach the government.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion on the floor is that the Bill 25, an act to remove politics and ideology from classrooms and amend the Education Act 2026, be referred to the Governance Committee for further discussion. All in favor?
Thank you, Chair Dorchester. Attached are my board actions and referrals, and that is it for my report.
Thank you, Superintendent Wade. Next on the agenda is upcoming events. Education Committee will be Wednesday, April 15th at 8:30 a.m. Committee of the Whole regular board meeting and Governance Committee, Wednesday, April 22nd at 9 a.m. And our Youth Parent Forum is Wednesday, May 30th at 9:30 at PLRS High School.
April 30th.
April
April
30th, yeah.
Sorry, yes. April 30th. All right, moving on to the final thing, which is adjournment. If there's no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Trustee Lethbridge. Seconder? Thank you, Trustee Reich. All in favor? Motion is carried. The meeting is adjourned at 11:38. Thank you.